Welcome back to the IndyCar preview show, probably the biggest show of the year because it is the preview for the 107th running of the Indianapolis 500. Of course, I'm Casey Campbell, and above me or next to me is the channel's IndyCar expert, Colin Kulpa, who will be at the Indianapolis 500 every year since 2015. Yes, we know no one went in 20, but according to Doug Bowles, your streak was not broken.
I'm so excited. It's the best time of the year to be a motorsports fan.
Yeah, this is the best. Well, obviously, before we get into the biggest storylines, and there were a ton of them, just talk about what does this race mean to you and all that stuff.
I could talk about how much it means to me. Growing up in Indiana, obviously it's a big part of it. You make a lot of memories. I've gone with my father, my sister, and now my girlfriend. So it's just special, but it's so special to everyone in the state. It's one of those community events. I mean, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the couple miles around it, will become more populous than Orlando, Cincinnati, Tampa, huge cities that just so many people are there. So many people fall in love with that event. And I think my favorite part of it is that it's such a festival. It starts on Thursday afternoon. People start checking out of work. And then Friday, Carb Day today, it's just a big festival at the Speedway. They've got the pit stop competition. They've got concerts. Saturday, one of the largest attended parades in the world, the 500 Festival Parade. The month started with one of the largest half marathons in the United States and world that crosses the Art of Bricks to finish it. And then Sunday with 350,000 of your best friends watching just some fast race cars. It's just a very special thing. And I think my favorite part of all this is it's getting even bigger. I think you talk to drivers and see them talk to the media and just going yourself and seeing it. I was there for pole day and bump day last weekend, and the crowds are getting younger. You go to a lot of motorsports events and you can kind of tell they're trending older, and some sports are having this problem, but I think IndyCar and specifically the Indy 500 and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway have figured out how to bring younger fans to the track, younger, diverse fan sets that are going to help grow the sport for years and years to come. So we are entering a new era, and there's just so much positivity. I'm so excited to get there on Sunday.
Yeah, there's like all these podcasts that of course my friends at the Indie Boys podcast, of course, they're going to be there as well, and I know everybody is. You're going to be in your perch in turn one, so that will be fun for you. But yeah, let's talk. There's been a ton of storylines so far this weekend. Of course, had a couple drivers on here a couple last few days. Always good to catch up with Captain America, Ryan Hunter-Reay. He was on here a few days ago, and then yesterday got to talk to Stingray Robb, who will be in his very first Indy 500. So go check out that interview as well. Great kid. I think the first person since Davey Hamilton to start the race from the state of Idaho. So that will be a little bit of fact there. So yeah,
and to my knowledge, the first person to be named Stingray in the Indianapolis 500, which is pretty cool.
He named after a Corvette, but he's driving a Honda. So yeah, it's so and if you want to go check out those two, those are on my channel as well. But we've had a lot of storylines this week. Let's start with the obvious one. We were going to talk about bump day and pole day and all that stuff, and obviously everything kind of changed when the crash on Monday happened with Catherine Legg and Stephen Wilson. Stephen Wilson had some injuries, of course. He'll be out of the 500 and very successful surgery. And best wishes to Stephen as he continues to recover from those. But Graham Rahal, who got bumped from the 500 for Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing, will be filling in a Chevrolet. So what was before we get to that, how was just pole day and bump day to have that? And then as Graham said, everything happens for a reason. And what an opportunity, and just going and helping out a really good friend.
Yeah, I mean, the Rahal and Wilson story, which we'll get to in a second, is just there's been years of familial connections, so it's really good to see Ray Hall being able to step in and help the Wilsons again.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bump Day was full of drama. Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan. The only car that was safe was the one-off Catherine Legg making it in on Saturday, not even have to worry about Bump Day. 3 cars in Stingray Rob for Dale Coyne and Rick Ware Racing trying to make the field. And Jack Harvey in the 30 car seemed like the one that was probably going to go home. Graham Rahal, I think I had texted you with that prediction, honestly, like earlier in the week. He just seemed slow and like that car was wicked and could not figure it out. Christian Lundgaard and Stingray Rob put in 2 qualifying runs to start that session that were fast enough. And then Jack Harvey on his 3rd attempt, after previously just circulating the track just to try and get that engine cooler, doing 1 attempt that wasn't good enough. And then finally, after the buzzer sounded, or the gun sounded in Indianapolis, bumped out his team boss, essentially, Graham Rahal from the Indy 500. And the 15 car will not be in the race. But as you mentioned, Monday, Catherine Legg and Stefan Wilson had an incident during the second to last practice session of the Indianapolis 500. And I think it was a T12 vertebrae for those who are into medical things. But Steph had a successful surgery, gave the thumbs up as he was being carted into the ambulance from turn 2. But Graham Rahal, in 45 seconds, he told reporters this week, got permission from Honda to join Chevrolet with the number 24 Dreyer and Reinbold Cusick Motorsports team. Graham Rahal was one of the biggest voices, the biggest organizers, the largest fundraisers after the death of Justin Wilson back in 2015. So for him to be there for Steph Wilson and in this tough time is just kind of shocking, honestly. A good kind of shocking, like, oh my gosh, it's him again, here to help. Now technically I think he probably fell up into a better car, because Steph Wilson was putting together some good practice times throughout the month, qualified better than any of the Rahal cars. Today maybe wasn't a great indication of what that car's going to look like 100 laps into the race. Rahal put in 49 laps today, best for 30th on the timesheet, but that's really still just shaking down the car, getting comfortable with it, making sure you fit, making sure you learn all the little things about the car, because it's very different. They were talking on broadcast today that where Dreyer and Reinbold put the pit sign is different than where the Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan teams put the pit sign. So just learning those little things was really the goal for today for Graham Rahal in the 24 car. But he seems to be adapting well. And as I said, that car seems to be handling better in traffic. So if they've rebuilt it to the caliber of car that wrecked on Monday, when Steph Wilson was driving it, Graham Rahal might be in better shape to have a pretty decent finish in the 500 than all of the Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan drivers, which is kind of the cruel irony for himself. But he's happy to be there. And as he said, and as you mentioned, he said, he's a believer that everything happened for a reason. So he was there to step in and help. But that was the drama of Bump Day. I mean, Hollywood probably couldn't write a better story than that.
Okay, so obviously that was the big story, but we've got some very, very fast cars. Obviously the back of the grid's always a story. The front of the grid's always a story there too. Obviously Ganassi has been just on it with all 4 cars, and there's been a lot of teams, and really Chevrolet as a whole have done well for the most part.
Yeah, I think a much more level playing field than the last couple of years with the Honda Chevrolet competition. That being said, Ganassi still is very fast. Palou obviously putting up 235 mile an hour laps in qualifying, a 234 mile an hour average. If not for Arie Luyendyk, they'd be some of the fastest. They would be the fastest times in Speedway history, but they're only second fastest. Sorry, I'm checking. Will Power just beat Jack Harvey in the pit stop competition. So, Sato, Dixon, Palou, and Ericsson rounding out that group, but still fast. They all have a great shot. Last year was kind of a Ganassi, roulette wheel where the first one fell out, the second one fell out, and then Ericsson was there to pick up the pieces, and Kanaan was only 2 spots back in the one-off entry last year. Sato's number 11 car isn't a one-off entry, that team's full season, but Sato's been, the no attack, no chance kind of driver, and you can see it. Will Power, starting 12th in the 12 car, has great speed in traffic, as do the Ed Carpenter cars, Connor Daly and Renus VK, and Ed Carpenter himself. Kyle Kirkwood has been kind of leading the Andretti pack this May. Romain Grosjean put up a good lap today. Even Agustin Canapino, the rookie in the Argentina football team colors for Juncos Hollinger Racing, put it P6 today. He'll be starting a little further back, but that car is running really well in traffic, and he seemed to be adapting really well. What Team Penske doesn't have in qualifying, they're more than making up for in race trim. McLaren, I haven't mentioned them yet. They're fast. Rosenquist they are saying he might have the best car in traffic, and he's starting third. Rossi was putting moves on people today, battling with Santino Ferrucci. AJ Foyt Racing's running well. I don't think I think there's a list of maybe 3 or 4 drivers that have no path to an Indy 500 victory, but there are 29 or 30 cars that could end up in victory lane. And there are less people this year that are going to go home happy, which I think is better for the fans. There are drivers that, the Indy 500, a 500-mile race, sometimes you just have to take what you get. If you're finished P6 and that's how your day goes, you have to be happy with that. But the way this is shaping up, there are a lot of drivers that really think they can win this thing. And they won't be happy finishing 9th. And they're really, it's going to stick with them for a while.
Yeah. Well, this race tends to stick with you for a long time, regardless of what happens to it. So, we talk about this. You mentioned most of the field has a chance to win this thing. Well, how are you going to win it, though? That's the real question.
Perfection, or as close as you can get to it. And even then, that might not be enough. They mentioned on
Dixon.
Yeah, ask Scott Dixon, as close to perfection as you can get for 2 of the last 3 Mays, and then it all falls apart with one mistake or one lockup heading into pit road or one extra lap under caution, right? 5 pit stops has been the number the past 2 races. Write that down. 5 times to pit road. That's including various caution periods and periods of fuel saving. What you've seen the past couple of years is the cars that pull out early and try to lead at first are not the ones that always lead at the end, whether that's because they're burning more fuel and have to go off strategy later, or because the faster cars are just kind of waiting and biding their time, waiting for other people to make mistakes and make their move. Renus VK, both in 2021 and 2022, starting in the top 4 positions, led significant chunks of the race, only last year to spin out and crash, and then the year before to just kind of shuffle back. I can't quite remember what happened to him, but he wasn't up there at the end, was he? Connor Daly led the most laps in 2021, and seemed like he had good shape, and the only car that was maybe in better shape was Graham Rahal, and that car lost a tire, hit the wall, and the tire hit Connor Daly. So pulling out early is not always the best bet. Sometimes it's better to sit 5th, save your fuel, learn your car, get it tuned to traffic, and then pull away in that last 75, 50 laps, that final stretch, and try and leave them behind. But that's proving difficult. Cars are able to catch back up to you, which is not something that really happened last year. Marcus Ericsson would have driven away with it if not for that last red flag and caution period, where Pato was leading heading into turn 1 on the last lap, and backed out of it. Pato O'Ward, that car was going to drive away, and it was not going to be caught. I don't think that happens this year. The cars have more downforce, more bits to play with, and the teams are using them, and that's why you're hearing the field is stacked maybe 20 deep of cars that can legitimately win. But it's the cars that kind of have shown speed. Maybe they didn't put it all in on qualifying. They're probably going to start higher than 12th. They probably made the Firestone Fast 12, or we'll put the top 15 because there's a couple of Penske cars I'd like to include in that group. make some moves early to kind of put yourself higher up in line so you have a little more freedom with pit strategy, but hold your horse back and then let it run when it comes time.
Yeah. Okay, so after all that, obviously you've given pretty much, and you've said most of the field has got a big shot to win, but who ends up winning it?
It's hard to pick against Ganassi. That's something I've said a lot on this podcast in recent weeks. Alex Palou was very fast. He's not the fastest of the Ganassi cars in race trim. That's been proven. Rinus VK starting second, matched him on pace essentially qualifying. Was not up on the timesheets today, but seemed to be maneuvering traffic really well. Connor Daly, Rinus VK's teammate, loves this place, has led laps, and seemed to be driving in traffic better than Rinus VK was. It's tough. You know what? This could be the year Connor Daly figures it out finally. He's kind of starting further back. He didn't have the qualifying pace. If he figures it out and finds himself up front, he's lost it two ways, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the third time's a charm. So if there's an Ed Carpenter racing car up front, whether it's Rinus VK, Connor Daly, or Ed Carpenter himself, this could be a situation where they can finally figure it out. I'm fine making Connor Daly my pick. If you ask me in an hour, I'd probably come up with a different answer. I see Rossi is very strong. I was thinking an hour ago, Alex Rossi was putting great moves together today and is really comfortable with his car. And then 30 minutes ago, I was thinking, well, Rosenquist at McLaren also. And then as we started this, I'm like, well, how could you pick against Palou? He's really fast. And, I could see Connor Daly doing it as well. But it's just how close it is.
That just shows you how really close it is. But yeah, it's I'm gonna go with Felix Rosenquist. I think this is his time to win it. As you probably know, he doesn't know what he's doing next year. Well, which is very familiar. He's in a very familiar position, and usually everything will work out. But this is if he gets this win, because there's a lot of drivers right now, going on, and obviously we won't talk about that on here, but there's going to be some interesting people going to some interesting places. So Rosenquist, I think, needs a win, and this would be massive if he got it.
In the words of Zach Brown himself today, how could you not market an Indy 500 winner?
Yeah. Simple as that. So, yeah, it's gonna be a fun race. We'll have to, this is hard to believe. This is my favorite race of the year, no matter what series it is. And yes, I know I cover I know I cover NASCAR as well, but this is a fun race. I look forward to this every year. The Daytona 500, and a bunch of other things. This is the race.
The big events in motorsports are just special. You don't have to fight with the people on Twitter about what's best. Just sit back and enjoy. Just take in all the pre-race coverage. Let your body get those chills and sit back and enjoy.
Oh yeah, big time. All right, Colin, enjoy the Indy 500 this weekend, and we will have you back on next week to preview Detroit.
Sounds good. You all